You finish a miniature, you put it on the shelf, and immediately you see everything that's wrong with it. That highlight that's slightly crooked, that blend that is not smooth enough, this tiny mistake nobody else will probably ever see. Funny thing is, I thought that feeling would disappear once I became a commission painter. Today, I want to save you the 100 commissions it took me to learn those 7 lessons. I want to be really clear about something. The biggest shift in my painting didn't come from a new brush, a new paint, or a new tool. It came from asking one question before I touched the model. What is this paint job supposed to do? Here's the thing. Before commissions, I painted everything the same way. Whatever I felt like, whatever techniques I wanted to try. And that's fine when you're painting for yourself. But when someone is paying you, your paint job has a job. A tabletop army piece needs to read from 3 feet away, as a unit, as a part of an army. A display piece has mostly one viewing angle and needs to read well in a shelf under close inspection. And a competition piece needs to tell a story that judges have never seen before. Those are 3 completely different goals. They require 3 completely different approaches to color, contrast, and detail. This became the foundation for everything else. Because once you know why you're painting, every following decision gets a lot easier. I remember watching speed painting videos and thinking, that's the goal. Get faster, finish more, push the pace. I was so wrong about what speed actually is. You have to paint smarter, not harder, to become faster. When you apply your display painting process to a whole unit of troops, you will eventually get there. But it takes forever. It's like trying to mow a football field with nail scissors. Use the right tool for the right task. Think about your whole process to become efficient. I didn't get faster by painting faster. I got faster by removing those 20 micro decisions I used to make during every painting session. And I removed unnecessary steps on the way. What color goes here? What consistency do I need? Which brush? What order? If those are already decided, your hands can just go to work. Quick test. Look at this miniature. Where did you look first? Probably not the knee pad or the rock on his face. Your eyes went first to the face, weapon, shield. Exactly. The triangle of attention. Here's what commissions taught me about real viewers. Nobody is looking at the back of the knee. Nobody is going to inspect the underside of the cloak. Nobody cares about the third highlight in the belt buckle. People look at faces. People look at weapons. People look at where the light naturally falls. Using that is not a shortcut. It's a strategy. When I paint a commission now, I spend 80% of my time on 20% of the model. The focal points, face, hand, weapon, the area where the light story is the strongest. Everything else gets solid, clean work. But the focal points, those get everything I have. The contrast between the detailed areas and the simpler ones create additional depth. Your brain fills in the rest. So does that mean you can just paint the face and ignore the rest? Not quite. But let me show you how to paint the rest smarter. This is the most practical lesson on the list. And it took me way too many painting projects to learn it. Here's the thing. Every time you have to go back and clean up a mistake, you're not just losing time. Every touch-up destroys the transitions you already made. Acrylic paint is always a little bit translucent, so every layer is influencing the next one. The simple rule I follow now: paint inside out and dark to light. Start with the deepest, hardest to reach areas. Skin under armor, recess in the cape folds and the inside of cloak, for example. Then move outwards and upwards. Finish with the highest, most accessible areas like shoulder pads, cape edges, or an exposed weapon. If you have a sunken in face like this and are trying to paint it, you will get paint in the surrounding areas eventually. Every time. Paint the recesses first. And if you have areas on the same elevation, dark first, bright later. If you try to paint white over black ones, you know exactly what I mean. Mistakes are way easier to fix if you can go back over it with a darker color. Thank me later, you will cut your correction time in half. This is a direct consequence of lesson 3, and this mistake cost me more time than any covering of mistakes. Look here. You can see that even the light does not catch every edge. I used to highlight everything, every armor panel, every strap, every fold. I thought this was how finish was supposed to look like. And then a client once asked me why the miniature looked noisy. And he was right. I totally overdid it. Here's my rule now. An edge gets a highlight if it serves one of 3 purposes. 1. It supports a focal point. Face, weapon, spotlight. 2. It helps define the silhouette. Makes the shape readable from a distance. 3. It tells the light's story. Shows where the light is coming from and where it's going. If an edge doesn't do any of these 3 things, skip it. Your miniature will actually look better without it. This was the hardest lesson, by a lot, because when you're painting for yourself, you can spend 6 months on a single miniature. You can chase perfection and you can just strip it and start over. Commissions don't let you do that. When you have to deliver 20 miniatures on a deadline, you learn something tutorials never teach you. I had to repaint a whole unit once because they didn't match the rest of the army. I painted them in a way that I thought they looked better than those before, but they did not integrate well into the rest of the army I painted previously. So I lost a lot of time repainting them. A consistently good miniature that gets actually finished is worth more than a perfect miniature that doesn't exist. Here's what that looks like in practice. You develop a standard. A level of quality you can hit reliably. Not your absolute best, not your lazy day. A repeatable standard that will still make you proud. Protect that standard. You don't chase one model to perfection while the other 19 are still sitting in grey plastic. You move the whole unit forward together. You respect your own time. And then you can still add to this for important pieces. That's not settling, that's professional. Okay, final lesson. And this one took the longest. When I started doing commissions, I thought my job was to be invisible. To paint exactly like the client wants, to match exactly the reference, but don't put myself into the work. But here's what actually happened. Around commission 60 or 70, I started noticing something. Clients were coming back regularly. Not because I was the cheapest or the fastest, but because they wanted my version of their miniature. They wanted my basing style, my color choices, my way of doing weathering and wear. And I started even having new clients with my growing portfolio saying, I want to hire you because I like your style. Different isn't worse, but it took me a long while to actually believe that. Your style is nothing you can force. It's something that emerges naturally when you stop trying to paint like somebody else and start trusting the decisions you keep making. It's difficult to describe. It's the way you handle shadows. It's the colors you regularly reach for. It's the amount of contrast that feels right for you. That's your own voice. If there's one thing that painting over 100 commissions taught me, it's this. Growing as a miniature painter, it's not about having steadier hands, although this helps a lot. It's about making better decisions. Every miniature is just a long series of small decisions. Where to spend your time, where to place your brush strokes, where to push and where to simplify. And the better those decisions become, the better your painting becomes. Not because your hands changed, because your thinking did. And somewhere in between all that, develop your own voice. Because the miniature painting world doesn't need another copy of someone else's style. It needs yours. Be brave. If I managed to save you at least one commission worth of mistakes today, I'd say this video was worth making. Let me know in the comments which one of these 7 lessons hit closest to home for you. I read every one of them and answer each question. If it was focal points, this video about box art tells you more about it. And to the commission painters watching, if you learned something different from your own work, I'd genuinely want to hear about it. Drop it below. And Taro Zeratul, and I'll see you in the next one.